Backstage at one of BTS' biggest concerts, the atmosphere was very different from the energy that filled the stadium just minutes earlier. Outside, tens of thousands of fans were cheering, their purple light sticks illuminating the night. Inside the backstage corridors, however, everyone was focused on the final preparations before the next performance. The production staff hurried from one side of the stage to the other, checking cameras, lighting cues, and communication systems. The members were reviewing choreography and discussing small adjustments that could make the performance even stronger. According to this fictional scenario, a misunderstanding briefly arose during those final preparations. SUGA, known for his meticulous attention to detail, wanted to make sure every musical cue matched the planned arrangement. Jimin, equally committed to delivering the best possible performance, had a different opinion about one of the transitions. Their discussion reportedly became more intense than usual, not because of anger, but because both cared deeply about presenting the best show possible. Voices became firmer, and for a few moments, the atmosphere backstage grew noticeably quieter. Jungkook happened to witness the exchange. Having spent years performing alongside the 6 other members, he understood how much each of them cared about their work. Even so, seeing 2 people he admired disagreeing so passionately was emotionally difficult for him. He quietly stepped aside while the conversation continued, hoping the misunderstanding would soon be resolved. Nearby staff members remained calm, allowing the members space to discuss the issue professionally. Everyone understood that creative teams occasionally disagree, especially when preparing for performances seen by thousands of people. As the discussion came to an end, the tension gradually eased. Jungkook, however, still appeared emotional. In this fictional account, he reflected on the long journey the 7 members had shared, from their trainee days to performing in stadiums around the world. The memories of years spent overcoming challenges together made the moment feel especially significant to him. Noticing Jungkook's expression, RM walked over and placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "There are moments when we see things differently," RM reportedly said in this fictional story. "But that's also how we grow together." Those words seemed to comfort Jungkook. A few moments later, SUGA and Jimin exchanged calm words, clarified the misunderstanding, and reached an agreement about the performance. What had begun as a stressful rehearsal discussion quickly turned into another example of teamwork and professionalism. The atmosphere backstage gradually returned to normal. J-Hope lightened the mood with a joke that drew smiles from everyone nearby, while Jin encouraged the group to focus on the concert ahead. V quietly checked on Jungkook before giving him a reassuring smile. When the stage manager announced that it was time to perform, the 7 members gathered together as they always did. They formed a circle, placed their hands together, and shared words of encouragement before stepping toward the stage entrance. Seconds later, the stadium erupted with cheers as BTS appeared before thousands of fans. No one in the audience could have guessed that, only minutes earlier in this fictional story, the members had worked through an emotional moment behind the scenes. Once the music began, they performed with complete professionalism, delivering the synchronized choreography, powerful vocals, and stage presence that audiences around the world have come to admire. By the end of the concert, the earlier misunderstanding had become just another reminder that even the closest teammates can have different perspectives. What matters most is the willingness to communicate, listen, and move forward together. In this fictional telling, Jungkook's emotions ultimately reflected not weakness, but the deep bond he shares with the other members. The experience reminded them all that trust, respect, and honest conversation are essential to maintaining a team, that has stood together through years of extraordinary success. As the night came to an end, the 7 members left the stage side by side, once again united by the friendship and dedication that have defined BTS throughout their journey. The 7 members remained backstage for a few extra moments before returning to their dressing room. In this fictional story, the silence that followed felt very different from the tension just minutes earlier. Instead of uncertainty, there was a quiet understanding that every challenge could be overcome through honest conversation and mutual respect. Jungkook slowly took a deep breath, his emotions beginning to settle. Looking around the room, he saw the familiar faces that had stood beside him through years of unforgettable memories, countless rehearsals, and performances on stages across the world. It reminded him that disagreements were only temporary, while the bond they had built together had lasted for years. SUGA was the first to break the silence. In this fictional account, he spoke calmly, explaining that his earlier comments had been directed toward improving the performance rather than criticizing anyone personally. His words reflected the high standards he always held for the group and for himself. Jimin nodded in understanding before responding with a smile. He admitted that the pressure of preparing for such an important concert had made everyone more focused than usual. What had seemed like a tense moment gradually transformed into a constructive conversation about teamwork and trust. Seeing the atmosphere lighten, Jin jokingly remarked that everyone deserved a proper meal after working so hard. His comment immediately drew laughter around the room. J-Hope followed with his usual bright energy, encouraging everyone to leave the stressful moment behind and remember the incredible audience waiting outside. His optimism quickly spread through the group. RM smiled as he looked at the members gathered together. In this fictional story, he reminded them that one reason BTS had remained together for so many years was their willingness to communicate openly and support one another through every challenge. Every rehearsal, every performance, and every difficult conversation had helped strengthen the team rather than divide it. V quietly looked toward Jungkook and gave him an encouraging smile. "You don't have to carry everyone's worries," he said gently in this fictional narrative. Those words seemed to reach Jungkook immediately. He smiled, wiped away the last traces of emotion, and thanked the members for always being there for one another. The room, that had felt heavy only minutes before, was now filled with laughter and renewed confidence. Soon afterward, the stage manager announced that it was time. The 7 members gathered in their familiar circle. Each placed a hand in the center before counting together, just as they had done countless times throughout their career. With renewed determination, they walked toward the stage entrance. As the curtains opened, the roar of thousands of fans echoed throughout the stadium. Purple light sticks shimmered across the audience like waves stretching to the horizon. The members exchanged one final smile before stepping into the spotlight. Whatever emotions they had experienced behind the scenes stayed there. On stage, they performed as one team, delivering every song with passion, precision, and gratitude. Their professionalism reflected years of trust, friendship, and shared experience. By the end of the night, the audience celebrated not only the music, but also the unity that BTS has long represented. In this fictional story, the earlier misunderstanding became a reminder that strong relationships are not defined by the absence of disagreements, but by the ability to resolve them with honesty, respect, and compassion. As they bowed together before the cheering crowd, the 7 members stood shoulder to shoulder, proving once again that their greatest strength was not only their talent, but the friendship that continued to carry them forward, one performance at a time. As the members returned to the dressing room after the concert, the overwhelming cheers from the stadium could still be heard in the distance. In this fictional story, the earlier emotional moment had gradually given way to relief and gratitude. Everyone looked exhausted, but they also carried the satisfaction of having delivered another unforgettable performance together. Jungkook quietly sat down, taking a bottle of water while reflecting on everything that had happened throughout the day. The emotions that had briefly overwhelmed him backstage were beginning to fade, replaced by appreciation for the people who had stood beside him through every challenge. SUGA walked over first. Without saying much, he gently patted Jungkook on the shoulder. "You did well tonight," he said with a small smile in this fictional story. Jungkook smiled back, clearly relieved. Moments later, Jimin joined them. He laughed softly and admitted that the pressure before a major concert sometimes caused everyone to become more serious than usual. There were no hard feelings, only a shared determination to give fans the best performance possible. The atmosphere immediately became lighter. J-Hope, never missing an opportunity to lift everyone's spirits, joked that the only argument they should have now was deciding what to eat after the show. His comment filled the dressing room with laughter. Jin quickly added his own playful suggestion, insisting that a celebration meal was the perfect reward after such a demanding concert. Even SUGA couldn't help smiling. RM watched the scene quietly before speaking. "In the end," he said in this fictional narrative, "it's not the difficult moments that define us. It's how we face them together." His words brought a thoughtful silence over the room. V looked around at his 6 bandmates and smiled warmly. "We've been through so much together," he said. "That's why we always find our way back." Jungkook looked at each member one by one. He realized that every rehearsal, every disagreement, every celebration, and every challenge had become part of the journey that had shaped BTS over the years. In that moment, the emotions he had felt earlier no longer came from sadness. Instead, they came from gratitude. Gratitude for the friendship they had built. Gratitude for the trust they continue to share. And gratitude for the millions of fans whose support had accompanied them throughout every chapter of their career. Outside the dressing room, ARMY members slowly left the stadium, still singing BTS songs and sharing unforgettable memories from the concert. Inside, the 7 members prepared to continue their journey together, knowing that tomorrow would bring another rehearsal, another stage, and another opportunity to create new memories. In this fictional story, the emotional moment backstage was not the end of the day. It became a reminder that even the strongest teams experience difficult moments. What truly matters is the willingness to listen, understand one another, and move forward together. With smiles returning to every face, the members gathered once more before leaving the venue. They exchanged one final group hug before heading out, ready for whatever the next destination on their journey would bring. For BTS, every concert is more than a performance. It is another page in a story written through perseverance, teamwork, friendship, and the unwavering support of ARMY around the world.